So this is obviously before the deep clean. Now this is where they'll arrive, and they'll arrive in bubbles. So the boxer will arrive with his corner man and his cuts man. Those are the only two people that he's been with since they went into quarantine in the hotel earlier this week. Also in the hotel are the people from the British Boxing Board of Control. That's the referee, that's the judges, all of Frank Warren's staff. Well, all of Frank Warren's staff is allowed to be here. Frank Warren himself has decided not to come. There's no space for the promoter. So they'll come out of the car, they'll come here, they'll walk to here. And then one at a time, they'll walk up this slope. At this point here, they'll have their temperature taken by a couple of nurses. They'll also give over all of their documentation. That's their Board of Control questionnaire and their documentation, their proof that they've had the tests earlier that week. Once they get here, they'll be given some new PPE kit. They'll put the PPE kit on, and then they'll be told where their changing room is, and their changing rooms are behind you. When it's time to actually leave the changing rooms and make their way to the ring, they'll be pulled into this area here where they'll be held. This red zone here is where the red corner will be. They'll walk first, and the blue zone there is where the blue corner will warm up. So the boxer and the cornerman will walk this way. Now the cornerman will have on bibs, they could have goggles if they want them, but they've got to have face masks on. And they'll make their way through this curtain into the BT studio. The boxer has to come this way. This is the only way into the ring for the boxer. These are the steps the boxer will use to get into the ring. Let's pause here for a moment. Turn the camera around. This area here, the perspex area, this is where the border control officials will be sitting. This is where the spare referees, the spare judges, the timekeeper, they've got loads of PPE over there. This is their special section. Now this bit I particularly like. When it was announced that when the guidelines were released about the boxing, there was some confusion about spittoon. No spitting, we don't want spitting, that's bad for everybody. So, a man called Andy Ayling, who works for Frank Warren, came up with a great idea. He came up with a disposable spittoon tube. It's really simple. Look, that's a simple garden hose fitting. You pull that off, and once it's used for each fight, it gets thrown in another yellow bin. Once fighter one's used the tube, fighter two gets in the ring, new fitting, and we get on with the fights. This is the only exit from the ring. They'll come out of the ring that way, and they'll walk round here. Now bear in mind, we are in a sterile area. This is where the deep clean will take place, about an hour and a half before the boxing starts. Now this is what we call the red zone, the hot zone. And nobody is allowed inside this red zone unless they've been in quarantine with all that entails since the start of this week. So after each fight, the ring will be cleaned. The referee, if he has to do two fights, if he has to do another fight, he'll go backstage and have a shower before putting on a whole new set of garments, which will include goggles and a face mask. That camera is where I'm going to be working. I'm going to be standing next to that camera. And anybody I interview, any of the boxers, the trainers, it'll be inside. They'll have to stand inside that yellow box. And now all that remains is for the last dump spot. There's so many yellow bins, there has to be. Their gloves will go in here, and their bandages and their wraps will go in there. And then they'll exit that way, again inside their tiny bubble of 3 people. They'll collect their bags and they'll go straight out to their taxis, straight back to the hotel where they can relax and finally have a shower. It's not been easy putting it together, but the detail is quite impressive.